Good day. Welcome to CNE's Webi Wednesdays. Here's our opportunity to share with you some of the exciting new features found in Web Intelligence version 4.1. The first demonstration, Freeze Frame. Simplify scrolling through tables by freezing table headers, columns, and rows. We'll present Webi Wednesdays every Wednesday. Stay tuned for additional topics of interest as well. These are the topics we're going to cover, followed by a visit to CNE.com for a special offer. Let's get started, shall we? This is the Web Intelligence Rich client. To find out what version we're on, we can go to the Information tool at the top right and click on About. This tells us that we're at version 4.1 Support Pack 3. The features we're about to show you are found on version 4.1 Support Pack 0 and above. Other features that we'll show in subsequent Webi Wednesdays may be restricted to Support Pack 2 or Support Pack 3 and beyond. I'm going to start by opening up the Freeze Heading document. The Freeze Heading document contains 3 reports as noted by the tabs Long Table Scroll, Break Table Scroll, and Crosstab Scroll. When you have a long table and you navigate vertically up and down, all of a sudden you find that you've become lost in the data. You no longer have the context of knowing what these text values mean or what these numeric values mean. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to freeze the row heading? Well, we can do that when we're in reading mode. Check the mode you're in at the top right of the screen. If you don't see the mode you're in, click on the 2 arrows, and you'll note that this tells us we are in reading mode. Now that we're in reading mode, I can click anywhere on this table and hit the freeze button. By hitting the freeze button and scrolling down vertically, you'll notice that the row header has now frozen itself in place, and I can tell that this column represents sales revenue and this column represents margin. Let me scroll back up to the top. On the same report, I have a second block of data. Freezing row headers or columns only applies to one table at a time. Therefore, if I scroll down, you'll note that the row header for the second block or the second table continue to scroll off the screen. But I can just as easily select that block, click on the down arrow next to the freeze button, and choose Freeze Header Rows. Now you'll note that while I scroll back up, both the header rows for each of the blocks remains frozen in place. What about scrolling left to right horizontally? The first block is now missing information about the geographic location, the state, the city, the year, and so forth. So I have less context with which to preview my data. Well, if I go back here to the first block and drop down the freeze option, you can see that I can freeze anywhere from 0 to 5 columns in place. Freezing 0 means to not freeze any columns at all. Let's try freezing 5 columns in place. By doing so, when I start to scroll horizontally left to right, the first 5 columns on the left are frozen in place, providing additional context to the numbers that I see here for sales revenue and margin. Very good. Let's go on to the next example, the break table scroll. The break table scroll takes the same data that was formatted as a long table and takes out the repetitive data through the use of breaks. You'll notice that state, city, year, and lines are all constant against this one category and against these multiple stock keeping units. So just as before, if I select any object on the block and then freeze the row headers, when I scroll down, you notice the row headers stay in place for all of the detailed data within this block. The one thing that I am missing, however, is some context around the state, the city, the year, and so forth. And that's because of some of the break properties for these fields that we're breaking on. In order to change the break properties, I need to go to Design Mode. So I'll click on the little 2 arrow section to the top right, switch to Design Mode, and I'll illustrate by selecting California. I can change the brake properties by right-clicking, choosing Brake and Manage Brakes, and then I can choose to display duplicate values instead of just the first by choosing to merge. What that does is to take the individual cells within this block and merge them together. That will show the term California, or whatever the name of the state is, for each of the individual brakes. It takes a little bit of time because I have so much data in this document. The other formatting that I'd like to perform is to right-click and choose Format Cell and change the alignment vertically to the top and apply. When the formatting is complete, I need to move back into reading mode. You'll note that reading mode appears as an option in the top right section of the report tool. So I'll go ahead and click on reading mode. Now that I'm back in reading mode, if I were to scroll down, if you remember, I still had my freeze row header turned on, and the term California shows up repeatedly again and again for each brake. The same could be done for city, year, lines, etc. Finally, the Crosstab. Crosstab is a unique means of displaying data to show trends and patterns across time or across other dimensions. In this case, we're actually showing data across the years 2004, 2005, 2006. But just as I ran into a problem of getting lost in the data before, I'm lost in the data again because I've lost my row headers and my columns. In this case, by selecting any object on the Crosstab and dropping down the freeze option, I can freeze the header rows and I can freeze the header columns. In this case, when I scroll down, I don't lose the header rows, and when I scroll over, I don't lose the column labels as well. So I have more context to reveal to my data. Now I can actually tell that the numbers I'm looking at here represent the numbers for 2006, sales, revenue, and margin for belts, bags, wallets in these various locations. Well, that's our Webi Wednesday for today. I do want to invite you to go back and visit CNE.com for a special offer that we have. Here's the special offer, and here's the website to point your browser to. Be sure to join us for future Webi Wednesdays by going to cne.com/Webi. Thank you very much. We look forward to hearing from you and look forward to seeing you in one of our education offerings so that you can learn more about web intelligence and other SAP Business Intelligence tools in the future.